Good evening, West Covina, and welcome to our Thursday night Bible study. Although tonight's not so much a Bible study as an announcement about Bible study.
Sure it is.
So, Pastor JP, what are we studying this year?
I'm kind of excited. We're moving back into the Old Testament, and we're going to be looking at Judges and Joshua. Well, not in that order. Joshua, and then Judges, and then Ruth, I think
Ruth.
It is, yes.
You are getting 3 books this year.
Absolutely.
3 books. And what's exciting about this for me as your youth pastor is that I am covering these also in Pathfinders and in middle school Bible and in youth Sabbath school in different parts of the year. So I get to double up on my research and do it well.
Oh, see what you did.
Yes.
Very nice. That was tricky. I didn't realize. The reason I am excited is because specifically Judges is weird. And fun. I've taught on Judges for prayer meeting, when prayer meeting was a thing. And I loved every minute of it.
Judges may be one of the weirdest books of the Bible in terms of the stories in it.
I think I have some keys that will help to open up understanding why it's there, because it's kind of tough. It's kind of a tough book to figure out why is this here. But I think I have some keys to unlock that. Hopefully we'll get that.
And as for Joshua, it's such an important book. It's like the book that is most unappreciated for its value because it's the linking book between the books of Moses, and we're going to talk about Moses quite a bit as we're starting out with Joshua. It's the linking book between Moses and the rest of the Old Testament. So it's crucial for that. It's the transition in leadership. It's how Israel goes from being wandering around in the desert to slowly becoming a nation.
He's the associate pastor that became lead pastor.
Yes.
But was never respected. He was always in the shadow. Who wants to be in the shadow? You want to be the guy. You don't want to be the guy of the guy. But he's the guy of the guy.
You know what's funny? Pastor Pacchini preached about Joshua his last Sabbath and was specifically telling the people to be kind to the associate who was going to be in charge in the interim. But it's a good book for that because the book of Joshua shows how a movement of God survives the original charismatic leader. There's a lot of things that fall apart when the original leader dies, and Moses has got to be one of the most iconic leaders of all time. Joshua is all about how you make a thing that's sustainable and that lasts and isn't just based on following the human leader.
Because we find out who's really behind it. It isn't really Moses or Joshua, but this is God's movement and the fulfillment of God's promises, finally.
And fun fact, Joshua is the first book of the Bible to actually be named after a character.
That is true. There you go.
Moses has 5 books, but none of them are actually named Moses. Joshua gets his own book.
Maybe 6.
Maybe 6?
Yeah.
Do you attribute Job to Moses?
I do.
Okay.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure about it.
I see a case for it.
I'm not 100% sure.
At the very least, he's the one who wrote it down.
And technically, if Job did write Job, then he would be the first.
Right.
Because it's the earliest book, probably.
Right.
Sorry.
All
We're
good.
not supposed to be doing this.
This is kind of a bonus episode. This isn't really like a serious study, but we promised we'd give you an announcement video about what we're doing. So, Old Testament narrative it is.
We didn't talk about Ruth.
Oh,
love
yes,
story, romantic. I mean, that's how we're going to end the year.
So I'm not going to give the ending of Judges away, but the ending of Judges is super dark and grim. Yeah. And I really didn't want to end the year for you on the end of Judges.
Yeah, chopped up in little pieces. That's not how we want to end.
It's super violent.
We don't want to end the year like that.
When I upload these things, YouTube asks me if it's made for kids.
Oh.
And I'm sometimes just like, what am I supposed to check here?
The Bible's not made for kids.
It was made for everyone. And when I teach these books down at the school, I actually have the parents sign consent forms just so that it doesn't come back to bite me that I'm actually teaching the Bible as written. Largely because of stuff like the end of Judges.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So Ruth is going to be a nice, wholesome, sweet way to end the year. A nice little Christmas treat at the end of the year. something pleasant after all of that blood, guts, and gore, which is fun to talk about, but not the cheeriest note to end on.
Kingsman Redeemer, love story.
Oh my goodness.
That's amazing.
Boaz is just my wholesome heartthrob. Okay.
Totally. He's a
man's
man.
He's like the rom-com lead of the
There's
Bible.
There's actually a movie or two out there about Ruth and Boaz. Is pretty good too.
Oh yeah. So that's what's going on this next year. We hope you have a very wonderful Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us all of this last year's study.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.